doesn't want to do it. Well, I'll keep working on that while we go right to our market stats. So just George and I again this week, we're setting up a nice lineup for everybody in the upcoming weeks of some of our local vendors and partners that we work with, some recognition for just different community leaders out there. And we think that that's going to be really exciting and really informative for everybody. So if you have any suggestions, I see there's a couple people watching right now. So John, Kim, Chrissy, if any of you guys have any suggestions on who you'd like to see join us each week, please send us a note. We would love to get some input from everybody. And as always, this is supposed to be an interactive experience. So if you have questions, please ask them in real time. We are happy to answer them. All right, I'm gonna flip us over to our presentation slides, and I will get this going for us here, maybe.
We eventually get it to work at some point.
It'll work. It'll work. Have a little faith, George. So here we go.
Look, it's live.
It's live. Oh, it has the wrong date on it. Oh, holy cow, that scared me. So I hope that we don't lose power.
Again.
During this, we lost power right before disregard June 3rd. I see that I've failed to update that screen. So just caveat, we might lose power about 10 minutes before coming on today. Our Wi-Fi went out and the lights flickered. So anybody that's here local knows that we've been having a week's worth of storms, thanks to Cristobal, and we will do our best to avoid a shutdown from that. All right, so let's jump into it. We're going to try to keep this statistics driven and brief this week.
It's never been brief.
Never been brief, but I think we have some really good, interesting information to share with everybody, and I hope that you guys are getting value out of this. So first and foremost, every week we've been keeping you guys up to date on what's happening on the listing and sales front. So as you can see for this week, listings have come back. You know, we're still in the 700 new listings per week. Pending sales are keeping track, and those sold homes numbers are still in the 300s, which last week was a bit of an anomaly at 550, because if you can see over the last several weeks on our chart, our sold homes have been down. Now, there's a really good explanation for that. One, we have low inventory, and two, you think there's about a 60 to 70, maybe 80-day lag, depending on days on market, for when a home hits the market, when it goes under contract, and when it closes. That's when, you know, you're looking at a 2-month delay and seeing those numbers report. So those numbers with the double asterisks on them, that would be, you know, closings that started to occur from homes that were listed probably March, April. So here we are a couple months down the road, climbing out of COVID stay at home, entering into phase 2 of reopening, and we're still seeing that residual effect from what was going on before. I thought this week it would be really nice to enter, to show some additional information. Hey, Mark, good to see you here. To share some additional information on what's going on, you know, month over month from 2019 to 2020. So, George, from your perspective, you know, well, we just talked about, you know, in closings that occur in May are most likely homes that were listed and went under contract in March and April. So this year, George, our March and April looked a lot different from last year. And the same, and our numbers are showing this. So what type of activity, you know, we can clearly see our listings were down 19.5%. Our sold homes were down 32% year over year. Look at the pending sales though, and this is really where I want your input here, George. Pending sales are still neck and neck, and that is just really speaks to pent-up demand. You know, so what's been happening over, you know, this May, and if you can think back to last May, and how those compare.
Well, and it's funny. It felt like well, obviously both of us have been doing this for quite some time, and
Mhm.
it always seemed like we had your summer rush, which was June, July, August, and year over year had it started to increase, go back into like the early months. April and May were starting to get to be our busy months, essentially, and that's really what last year was. Last May, I think we had probably one of our best months for all all the way around. New listings and pending sales, all of it was great. This year, the fact that they didn't have as many listings on the market just proved that there was just as many buyers still looking to purchase. Why those pending sale numbers still
Yep.
stay the same.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what the case was, our team did not slow down. I mean, we're obviously just a small piece of it, but I know a lot of agents that were still out there doing virtual tours, doing FaceTime videos, taking buyers out, obviously taking necessary precautions, but they were going out showing properties because they had buyers that needed to buy a home. They
Right.
were in good, stable positions. They needed to make that move, or they were moving here, they were relocating, whatever it might be the case, military moves. There were still a few of those happening. Those people still needed homes, and the fact that there weren't as many listings just is really the only fact. And that's what we're still struggling with. That we're still not seeing enough homes on the market that we really desperately need
Yeah.
to get out there.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. So those pending sales, this is just something that we talk about every week. People are still needing to purchase. And so you're seeing almost the exact same number of pending sales month over month from last year to this year, despite COVID. So, and you can see with new listings being down almost 20%, you're a seller, you are looking to make that move. This is an amazing time to sell. We
And
have had,
I mean, just to add to that, I mean, it's an amazing time to get what you want for your house.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
I guarantee if we look back at these individual numbers, those pending sales probably paid pretty close to list price, if not above,
Yep.
because of the fact that they realized there just was not enough inventory or enough options out there for them to consider.
Yep, and we're going to talk about that next. So great segue. Well, almost next, I should say. So I just wanted to put it in comparison to, again, we focus on the positive here because we've had some really positive experiences, and we think that other people have had, as much as there have been some really terrible things happening in our country, whether that has to do with COVID, George Floyd, there are a lot of positive things that are coming out of this. And, if we look at Jacksonville market, St. Augustine, anywhere in North Florida as a whole, these numbers year to date, year over year, from 2019 to 2020, they don't look as scary, right? These numbers are not, yes, we don't ever want to be down. We don't want to be down 8.7% in new listings or 8.6% in sold homes, but we have the ability this year to make up ground until, December 31. And I still think we're going to have an excellent, strong year. So, this whole time I've been trying to share our feed, and for some reason it's not letting me share it right now. We'll keep working on that. But the next slide is the one I really wanted to talk about. And George is saying just now, I bet you could pretty much get what you want for your listing. And if you look at this data, I know it's a little small, but if you look at what's happening here, you see our days, the darker blue is 2020, lighter blue is 2019. If you look at days on market's gone down over this in May, in the month of May. So all of last year's data. In May, we had opened back up. People were out and about a lot more frequently. They were searching for homes more frequently. So I think it's a pretty fair comparison from May 2020 to May 2019. Days on market, because we don't have inventory, days on market went down. Homes were selling faster than they were last year, which I know can come as a surprise. George, Have you had any, I've had some interactions recently and I'm curious to see if yours jive with mine. Um, every time I talk to somebody about real estate, or I run into somebody now that we're, moving around a little bit more that I haven't seen in a while, their first question is, oh my gosh, how's real estate? How is everything? Are you okay? And they're coming at it from a position of concern because, are you starving? Have you made any, have anything gone under contract lately? Are you able to close houses? And there's a misconception by a lot of people out there, which is why we're doing these updates, that the market is bad right now, that we are struggling to make it day to day. And fortunately, that's not the case. So have you had to correct some of those misconceptions, or what are some of the questions that you get from people wanting to know about your business?
It's the same, exact same questions. People all concerned that the real estate market is tanking. And yes, there are probably tons of media out there that say that, the real estate market is in a bubble, or it's going to crash. It's finally there. It's been happening. They've all been predicting it forever. But no, it's definitely not the case. And I've had to tell a lot of people, like, no, honestly, I've been out and about showing property almost every single day. I've been on the phone talking to buyers that need homes, talking to buyers that will be needing homes in the next month, 2 months, 3 months. So I've had to tell a lot of people, like, and investors, everybody, that not very many people realize that, but this is by far the best time to buy. So
Mm-hmm.
the interest rates are phenomenal. So that is probably one of the biggest factors. So even if you're paying, if you're financing, you're still getting phenomenal rates. There was, of course, the concern early on where the interest rate had creeped back up to 5, but very quickly, within a couple of weeks, they were back down in the low threes again. And
Yep.
that's where all my buyers are get their interest rates right now, between 3.5 to, at the highest, 3.8. So if if you haven't been out and about needing a home, this is the time to go get it. If you want to sell your home, it's definitely the time to do it.
Absolutely. We've been crazy busy. And I think some of these numbers speak to that as well when we look at the sold to list price, another, the next two bars on here on our chart. So you've got, and obviously 268, 281, those are thousands. So 268,000, 281,000. So if you look at sold price, the average sale price last May versus this May, you're at 268,000 versus 281. So that's a 4.8% increase in sales price. So not only are homes selling quicker, they're selling for more money on average, of course. And then the same thing with where do we see people listing their homes? There was some concern that list prices were going to start, sellers were going to have to start lowering their list price to attract buyers when all of the first concerns with the pandemic popped up. That hasn't been the case. Our listing prices increased on average by 3.9%, which is again a direct reflection of the lower inventory. I can speak to several successes recently where we've been able to push that needle up a little bit higher and have had homes go under contract for the highest price per square foot comparatively, at a variety of price points in a variety of different parts of town and in different types of homes. So we're seeing it across the whole North Florida market. And then sales price, so SP to LP, so your sales price, what the home actually closed for, versus what it was listed at. And then your next set of bars, SP to OLP, that's sales price to the original list price. So we all know that there can be situations where a seller might have a price reduction while they're on the market. And that might be just the price reduction that attracts that buyer, and somebody puts in an offer based on that lowered listing price. But we also want to track, well, where were we when we originally listed the property of that, where were we at last year versus this year? What did we sell? Or how close were we to that listing price? I'm sorry. So last year to the current listing price, sellers were getting 97.25% of that list price on their accepted offers. This year we're up. They're getting 97.89%. Now we see a slight variation in sales price to original list price, but they're still very close. Those numbers are still very close together. So overall, listing data is super positive, other than the fact that we don't have enough inventory.
It's always the case, and not having enough.
That's right. So let's take a step back and talk about nationally, what is that looking like for people out there that are searching for homes? Obviously, we know in North Florida that a lot of our population is relocating here. So this slide is real estate top of mind. We talked a couple weeks ago where more people than ever were Googling, should I buy a house? Is this the right time to buy a house? Now we get to, last week, and we can see that there's been a pretty big drop off. Well, what's been happening over the last week and a half? We've had some really, really tough conversations across this country, and we've seen a lot of attention and efforts being put on George Floyd. We've seen, a lot of nice organized protests, not only in our city, but of course, as everyone knows, what's happening, across the whole country. So our attention perhaps has been shifted a little bit to a bit more serious of a subject versus, should I buy a house today? George, I don't know if you've seen any of that in your inquiries. I feel like we've been just as busy, but I think as a country, which is what this chart represents, that's a big indication of what's been happening on a daily basis. Weekly.
I agree. It definitely is a factor that, there's more important factors that have come into play. Mm-hmm. But I do think as the country has started to open back up, where people have, restaurants are open, with phase 2 in different areas, sports are starting back up. Basketball is going to be back on here July 1st. Major League just announced today that they have their opening. Obviously, football is a few months away, but the world is opening back up. The question of should I buy a house is not that important, because I think everybody realizes it doesn't matter. It is a good time. So interest rates have been, of course, in the news a lot, that it's been at an all-time low. The refinance industry has gone back up. I know we always highlight how many loan applications have come through, and that has been a continued increase. So I see the real reason for why it's not top of mind, because it's already happening. We've got so many people hopping back into the market. Today alone, I spoke to 2 different people. First-time home buyers have decided, hey, we want to get into the market. We want to buy a home now. And I'm one of 12,000 agents out there. I'm sure a lot more people are getting phone calls about past customers or new customers just saying, hey, I want to buy a house. It wasn't even a question of is it a good time? It's I need to find a house now.
Right. Absolutely. And we're seeing that all across the board. You just touched on it.
Keep jumping in.
What?
Keep lining these up for you. Perfect.
You are. You're doing a great job. I think that week 7 is what I think we're on. We've really hit our peak here. So loan numbers are still up. And we had a question last week during our live, are those refis or are those new purchases? And so I got a little fancy this week, and it is new purchases are still up 13%. You guys didn't see my little graphic. I'm going to do it again. I'm very proud of myself here. Wow. So new loan apps. So new loan apps for new purchases are up 13% from where we were last year over year, which is tremendous. Best and the worst. So one of the new, some new information that we're looking at, and again, we get a lot of this information from a weekly webinar update, national update from Metro Study and Myers Research. So not all of this data is ours. It is stuff that we find valuable and we want to share with you as well. And so this is one of this data actually comes from Showing Time. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm one slide ahead of myself. This just comes from new listings hitting the market. So we talked about how our new listings were down. And this talks about active listings. So what's currently active that hasn't gone under contract. And the top graph is the best cities in the country. The bottom graph speaks to the cities that have had just the worst of the worst times. And so you can see how Jacksonville is comparatively to other large cities. Doesn't look so bad, right? We're only down 11%, and we're still struggling though to find homes. You know, George, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face. I'm still struggling to find homes for people because there aren't enough active listings. And I can say from my end, there are 3 buyers I know that George is working with that they have a house to sell. They would put their home on the market today if they knew where they were going. And that's a daily struggle that we face. You know, we have all these listings waiting to hit the market. Call us if you haven't found what you're looking for yet. We might have a collection of them just waiting. Anything else for you to add there?
No, I mean, it's so key. And funny thing is, like, I've been doing a lot of that myself, has been reaching out to other agents and asking them, hey, do you know if anything else is coming on the market that could potentially fit this buyer? So there's a lot of good opportunity out there. And I think we'll be able to make a big difference in this if everybody works together. I mean, it's no different than our current situation with the whole George Floyd situation. If we work together, we're going to be in a much better position. So we just need to make some changes.
We do. And that, you know, we've spent a lot of time this morning talking about communication too, which is interesting because communication is one of the things that separates a great agent out there from just an okay agent. And we could do so much more together if we would all communicate and utilize our resources and each other out there to help get things done for our customers. Showing activity, this is pulled from ShowingTime. So ShowingTime is an app that most agents use to log and register showings and solicit feedback for those showings. So we can track how many showings have occurred per property, how many showings does it take on average for a home to go under contract. A lot of interesting data that you can pull from ShowingTime data. This speaks to, and it's only broken down by Florida. Sorry guys, we don't have a North Florida broken down piece for you, but you can see this long blue piece here. That was the worst week of the pandemic. So the lowest of the lows. Then you get to May 22nd, which was 3.5 weeks ago. And we were down just before Memorial Day weekend. We were still down 11% in showing activity. And now we're only down 5%. You know, so the majority of people are out there looking at houses. And I would argue that some of the things that are contributing to being down 5% is there are just simply not enough homes out there to show.
Right. And because, I mean, just like we did, we upped our marketing strategy to include a whole lot more virtual showings, the 3D tours, all of that put together. So a lot of people who are still looking were realizing just by using those lines that the home didn't fit what they were looking for. So of course the showing activity did decrease from there, just because we were doing a much better job of providing a very real opportunity for those people to realize what kind of home it was, not just from pictures. So now that more, you know, obviously it's become a little bit less of a strain to go outside. We have a lot more people out and about because now they don't have to be worried about getting the virus.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
So, sorry, I was responding to a message that we have here. You know, one of the last pieces for this week, somehow we've still managed to fill most of our airtime here. One of the last pieces that will be interesting for us to look at, last week we talked about the shift in design elements in a home. You know, do you need more space for an office? Do you need more space for your kids? Do you want to have, you know, more hardwired connections for Wi-Fi? Because, you know, if you're hardwired in, maybe your computer runs, you know, your internet is running a little faster. How does that change the new construction design? This week, playing into that, are there people that are going to move to a more suburban area because it's less dense, especially as people look at, okay, will there be a second wave? Where are they looking to go? Can they save some money living a little bit out of the city center versus, right in smack dab in the middle of everything? And so this is some interesting data. 39% of people said that they would consider doing that. 43%, so interesting tracking online traffic, 43% said that they're browsing real estate websites versus those people that already live in suburbia. So 43% people versus 26% people are the ones searching online. And then those that are 18 to 34 years old, age group most likely to consider a move, which really plays right into our market demographics here. We have a very large group of first-time home buyers, move-up buyers, business professionals that are relocating, that all fit into that age range. So, now, George, I thought you were going to say something there.
Yeah, I was really thinking of something to say, and then kind of just went right out of my head. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that to consider. Well, at the same time, we also look at people moving from different areas. I've had a couple buyers make the transition from California over here, New York, New Jersey area down south. So there's definitely that aspect. We already see it, and I think the fact that Jacksonville, even though we are a major city, we are so spread out that we still feel like a small town. So people are still flocking to small towns, which is a good thing.
Absolutely. We've got space. We have some of the largest suburban urban park environments in the entire country. If you want to go on a trail, if you want to go hiking, if you want to go to a paddleboard launch, we got you covered. Any questions out there hey, Joe just joined us. Any questions out there? Anybody watching? We are about to wrap up for the day, and we appreciate you guys joining us and participating every week. It is always nice to see new faces click in, and as we track those that are watching live. And like we suggested, we would absolutely love any suggestions you have, who you would like to see join us. I'm sure you don't want to hear me the whole time. Maybe
we'll listen to you talk all the time.
We'll have George take the reins next week, I promise. And
you do such a phenomenal job. But I mean, yeah, it's great. If we can get some more people to join us to kind of listen to kind of get in their own spin of what's going on in our world. Like I said, it doesn't have to be real estate related. Mm-hmm. We want people to come in, tell us about what's going on in their lives, what's been going on in their daily worlds, how that's changed, and how you are looking forward to get back to the old normal or a different normal, wherever it might be.
Yeah, we've got some great businesses that have been born out of the last several months, and we would love to highlight those people as well. So if you know of anybody who would like to spread, some positive information across our community and share a little bit about what they do, bring it on. That's it for this week. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye. Have a great rest of the week.
Stay dry.
Yeah.